You brought up Poor Man and you brought up Loveline. Tell me about this. I didn't realize there was you and Poor Man doing this Loveline as both of you are not professionals in the
doctors.
Yeah, it started.
You're not
Exactly.
doctors.
Oh, that came much later. So what happened is that me and Poor Man, so Poor Man wanted to be on the air, and Poor Man had gotten on the air at KROQ being a guest with other DJs before, because he had written a book called A Poor Man's Guide to Inexpensive Dining or something, or A Poor Man's Guide to Dining in Pasadena. And he knew many restaurants, and Poor Man would get the KROQ staff free lunch. So that's why they let him hang out there and be on there. And then he wanted to do his own shift, so they gave him Sunday night from midnight to 2 a.m. in the morning. But he had no clue what he was doing. He didn't know how to operate the board or anything. So Freddie Snakeskin asked me if I could run the board for him. No problem. And then we became good friends right away. And then sometimes we would have guests, like I remember UB40 or In Excess would come into the studio and talk to us. But pretty soon after, Poor Man, he was great talking to people online on the request line. And then we would put people live on the air, and pretty soon those conversations started to steer into, oh, so you're single now, huh? Well, how long have you been single? Are you dating anybody, or have you ever dated a guy from Huntington Beach, California? And those kind of conversations Poor Man would have with girls. And then they would say, well, my boyfriend just broke up with me. And Poor Man would go, well, what do you think about that, Eagle? And then I would give him my 2 cents based on my youth in Sweden, which was probably more liberal than, what a lot of people had experienced at the same time here in America. So that is how Loveline came about. Poor Man came up with the name for the show, and then it was every Sunday night, and we would take calls all the time, and it was less music and more calls, but everybody loved it because the show became very popular. Then the conversation started to become about, so my boyfriend broke up with me, and he promised me that I was going to be able to own this car or live in this house, and now he kicked me out on the street. What should I do? So we brought in a lawyer. His name was Dave Baker, and he became kind of part of the show until AIDS happened. And when AIDS happened, then Poor Man knew a doctor, an internist in Pasadena called Drew Pinsky. And he invited Dr. Drew to come on. That's how Dr. Drew got the name Dr. Drew. Poor Man named him that. And then he, had to answer all these complicated medical questions. And it became, as long as we were talking about love and relationships, it was a lot of fun. But once it got into the whole medical thing, there was less fun and much more serious. It became about drug abuse, about safe sex, about, AIDS and how to get AIDS, and try to, there was so much misinformation about AIDS. You're gay, can you transmit it? And even, I remember Poor Man, we were, before I got married, living a freewheeling lifestyle that had to come to an end at the time because you didn't really know what was going to happen. And I got married in 1985. Poor Man was one of my 2 best men. And after I got married, my daughter was born in 1986. And then on Sundays, when the show was on, I wanted to be home. So I left Loveline, and then it had become something different. And then I was on there for a while with Dr. Drew on my own sometimes, but yeah, most of the time I wanted to be home on Sunday. So I left Loveline, and then Loveline became super, super, super popular because they put it on weekdays from 10 until midnight.